What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Fun Speculation Podcast. Mav here. It is Thursday, only a little bit behind today. It's 7:06 p.m. Central Time, and got a lot to talk about. It's been a fun week this past week. We've had a lot of streams. We've done a lot of co-streams. We've done a lot of Mavcasts. We've done everything under the sun, but it's time to kind of sit back and reminisce over everything that we experienced the last week together. Oh, but it's not over. It's not fucking over, everybody. Because guess what? Right after showcase season, Xbox decides to announce it's time for a reset. So we have that to look forward to as well. And we'll get to speculate on what the hell that means. I think we can look at some insight and try and figure that out together. And looking forward to that. But in the meantime, hey, just let everybody know I did post. I did a stream yesterday where I reacted to the Fable gameplay that was shown. There's 30 minutes of gameplay. Also the Halo campaign, as well as the State of Decay 3 podcast where they had lots of information in there as well with a little bit of an interview that they had. So did that as well as kind of read the Asha Sharma letter that was sent to the Xbox team, and so we kind of went over that a little bit. So if you missed that stream yesterday, I did post a video just of the Fable reaction. So if you just want to watch that, you can just go watch that video, or if you want to go check out the whole stream where I did all that yesterday, it'll be there for you. Because we're going to talk about a lot of this stuff today, so. It's gonna be interesting show. We're on a high, right? With showcase, we're on an absolute high. Yeah, I think the Xbox showcase in particular was especially good. I think Nintendo had some cool stuff at theirs. I thought Summer Game Fest was really good. State of Play was started out pretty good. They had some cool third parties in there as well, and then kind of deflated there at the end. But overall, I feel like this was one of the best showcase seasons that gaming has had in a long time. And one of the best things about it was a lot of the stuff that we saw from everybody was within this year and next year. I mean, there was not a whole lot of stuff that was like 2028, 2029, 20, like, or just left for us to guess. They really did kind of go out there and say, 2027, 2027, 2027. We got a lot of month dates as well. We got a lot of stuff coming this year. A lot, even at the Nintendo show, a lot was coming this year that hadn't been announced before. And a lot coming next year as well. So, I mean, overall, this showcase season I thought brought a really good energy. It reminded me of those E3 days where everybody was kind of firing on all cylinders for the most part. Even though the State of Play didn't hit like 100%, it was still, they had some first party games there. It was a longer show for Sony as well, so it did still kind of feel more like a showcase than just a regular State of Play. And even their stuff, a lot was 2027 as well. So, yeah, it's overall, I mean, I really do think that this showcase season was probably the best that we've had since E3 disappeared. I mean, maybe this whole generation. I mean, I think we're maybe at the peak of this generation. You're looking at the games releasing this year and next year. I don't know if we're gonna have like a 2 year period like this again in a while, but we'll see. I mean, they've been really surprising me with the amount of games that have been coming. So I guess it wouldn't surprise me if 2028 and 2029 are equally as amazing. So we'll have to wait on that. I mean, of course, the big dog in the room is GTA 6, and we haven't seen anything from that yet except for that one trailer that they had. So, that's going to happen at some point this year. And then November, we're getting the release. So, what a year for games. Like Pong always says, it is the golden age, despite all the other nonsense and the business shenanigans going on with gaming. It is the golden age of gaming because we are eating everybody, no matter where you play, no matter what you play on. Lots of stuff. And yeah, I think overall is really great. Fuzzy is running behind, he said, so he'll be joining in a little while when he gets available. He already did send me the Tidbits link as well, so we will have Tidbits later in the show. So he's ready to rock and roll on that. Jasper the other day said he may be back coming up in the weeks ahead. So I don't think he's going to show up at this show, but we'll see. And then Psycho said he might even be able to make his schedule work for some future shows as well. So even though I'm doing kind of solo right now, Fuzzy will be hopping in later. We're going to start to have a little bit of fun speculation energy back with some more regular people showing up from the fam. So I'm looking forward to that. And one of the coolest things for me, everybody, this E3 season, or fake E3, showcase season, was having that big fun speculation family reunion for the Xbox show. Pong Soul showed up. Pong Soul was there. Or BGX, Bitter Gen Xer, as he's going by now, after he caught my rant about Gen X the other day on stream. BGX, Pong Soul, whatever you want to call him, he showed up, and it was awesome to have him there. It was just amazing to talk to my bro. Still Rain was there. It was awesome. PTK Blam showed up. Absolutely fucking awesome. Psycho showed up. Absolutely awesome. Jasper showed up. Incredible. 3-Bit showed up. It was a family reunion here on Fun Speculation on Sunday. So if you didn't get to catch it, go check that out. It was a blast. Of course, Fuzzy wasn't here. It's because he was in LA. He was one of the lucky ones, getting to sit in that crowd, hearing Asha Sharma say, everybody that has fan on their badge is getting a 25th anniversary Xbox Series X. Absolutely incredible moment for everybody there that got to attend. Super happy for all my friends in the community, all the other content creators in the community, all the other podcasters, all the other people that have been in my chat as well, like Calorie, is here, FarQ, Cyber Gunter, all you guys, all the bros that have been here, all the speculators, that come here and hang out. Got to go to FanFest. If you got one of those Xbox Series X's, I'm super jealous, but equally super happy for every single one of you. And what a year to go for you guys. What a year to go. Now, got to say hello to the chat. You guys rock. Shout out to 127 Yankees. How's it going? Cody Ray Games. How's it going? Hope you're doing well. Xlands Gaming. What's up? Hope you're doing well. We got Grave Maker Hero here hanging out. What's up? Mike H. How you doing, sir? Hope you're doing well. Shizno is here hanging out. Says 2027 is going to be huge too. Abso-fucking-lutely, man. 2027 is no joke. 2027 is loaded, man. February alone. Fable's hopping in February. I mean, there was a lot announced in February. Like, I don't have it all in my brain right now about all the games that were announced in February, but there was a lot coming in February. Absolutely crazy. And for the rest of the year, next year too. I mean, we got State of Decay 3 is coming next year. Clockwork Revolution is coming next year. I think Senua was announced for next year as well. And that was a surprise. I mean, nobody thought there was going to be a new Hellblade game already. Like, it took them forever to make the last one. Now it's like only 2 years for the next one. I mean, that's insane. Let's see who else we got here hanging out. BT Maverick, what's going on? C Bastion, what's going on? Silver Lab Guy, how's it going? Stanley Francois, how's it going? Mr. Nitric, how's it going? Polly Baba, how are you doing, sir? Hey, dude, I hope you get into the podcasting stuff, man. I got that DM from you, and dude, if you need any help figuring stuff out or whatever, just let me know, man. Here to help you. Berg Brizzle, how's it going? Brett Bingham, hope you're doing well, sir, and same to you. Same to you, Brett. And thanks for being here also on our family reunion special. It's cool having you there on the co-stream also, man. But yeah, thank you all for tuning in. You guys rock. JJ saying, how's it going? Scott Wood, how's it going? Scott Woodford says, hi, first time here. Well, what's up, dude? Hope you're doing fantastic. TK chillin', how you doing, bro? I'm doing good, man. You guys all rock. Thank you all for being here. Alvin, what's up, dude? Persona 4 Revival is also February. Yeah, it's crazy. Absolutely fucking crazy. Well, this man drove for probably about 30 no, I'm going to guess 50 hours at least. Probably closer to 60 cuz I've driven from Texas to Vermont several times. And I think that's like a 28-hour drive, if I'm not mistaken. So I could imagine going from Pennsylvania to LA. It's probably closer to like a 30 something hour drive at least. And you went there and back, but you didn't come home empty handed, Fuzzy. Because you got a green ticket for a very special item, dude.
Yeah.
But overall, man, hey, thanks for being here, bro. How you doing?
Doing great. Just recovering from the I would say jet lag, but the time change and the
Yeah.
driving and
How
all
many
that.
did you space out the driving over like 3 days or two? Because two would be
Up
crazy.
there it was like a little over 2 days. We tried to take a more relaxed approach coming
Yeah.
home, so we kind of spanned it over 3 days, but it's supposed to be 40-ish hours, between 40,
Mm,
43, depending. I had it well planned out on the gas stops, wanted to go with certain gas stations, had everything timed at around 300 or 400 miles. We were like working
yeah, that
like
sounds.
clockwork. I think I did about 30 of the hours, and Fee did about 10 to 12 of those hours. So
Is
getting up
that
there,
each
got the
way?
that was on the drive up. On the drive back,
Okay,
we
wow.
took a couple of sleep stops.
Yeah.
Because before, like driving up there, we didn't really do sleep stops. We did gas stops, bathroom breaks, and food stops. That was it. And then we would switch off, get there, got to the hotel. We actually got there a little bit earlier than anticipated. Check in for the hotel was 4 p.m. their time. But we were able to get a 2 p.m. Check in, and we got there around 12.
Oh,
So
nice,
we
man.
had a little bit of a I wouldn't say layover, but like time to kind of look around, get a bite to eat and stuff like that
Mm-hmm.
before unloading the car for the room and stuff like that. But yeah, worth the trip definitely. That green ticket. Still in a bit of shock on it.
Yeah.
Was not expecting anything along those lines. Like when they first showed it during the showcase, I was like, okay, I'm gonna sell one of or trade in one of my Series S's because I got
Mm-hmm.
two of those. The boys didn't take the Series S's; they took their PCs when they moved out. And I was thinking, well, I could probably trade in the current Xbox that I have for that. So I'm like, okay, one trade in, one exchange. Let's see where that puts us if there's any deficit or what have you. And they were like, everybody that has fan written on their, lanyard
Yeah.
gets one. And I'm like, did I hear that right? I'm looking down. Yeah, it says fan. Wait, what?
Yeah, man.
So yeah, yeah, that was a total surprise. But it already like I told this story so many times to people there before they even did this announcement. I was like, look, I came here in 22 and I get it. They were coming back from the the pandemic and all that. Their first in-person one. And I had heard like all the great stories of like previous fan fest and stuff.
Yeah.
And people were like, "Oh, you got a controller, you got a game, maybe a subscription, this, that, and the other thing." When me and the wife went in 22, we got the jerseys that have like our gamer tag on them.
Yeah.
We got like a little string bag. We got a box of popcorn, bottle of water, and hand sanitizer, and pins, like a FanFest pin, and that was it.
Yeah.
And I was like, "This seems a little on the empty side, but okay, it is what it is." Um, and I was like, they had already started off by giving us like a sweatshirt and a bag and same popcorn and water, although we
Mm-hmm.
had a lot
That was
more
that. I saw the
variety of
videos.
drinks and stuff.
Y'all were walking through a little like concourse thing through the like black, sectioned off area, going through the line, and then there's like a big counter there where they gave
Mhm.
y'all like the hoodies and all that kind of stuff. Did they ask y'all for sizes on that stuff ahead of time, or
Yes.
okay?
Yes, and I
Because
think they had them
if they
preloaded
gave
on the
me
back.
like an XL, I would have been like, well, fuck. I guess this is not. I'm not going to be wearing this thing. You know. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, that's cool that they got your sizes ahead of time.
Yeah, well, they messed up on the t-shirt size for my wife, so I just gave her mine because
Yeah.
they gave me the extra large and gave her the medium, which that's not going to fit over certain parts of an area. But all in all, it was just awesome. The swag that they gave out before, announcing that at the end was awesome to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they also gave us, like, in an email, like 3 months of Game Pass, so that was awesome
Oh,
once again.
nice.
But the console, that hey, I was already looking at how I'm going to get it and trade in what I got to trade in to do so. But this makes it a lot easier at that point. But fantastic show, fantastic games, fantastic Xbox family, just in general. There, I mean, sure, we went to a lot of other gaming events. We went to Summer Games Fest. We went to the mixed thing, which was like the indie show. Since we're not full on press, we didn't go to the play days, which I
Yeah.
think that's mainly geared for people that are going there for interviews and with the devs. So that's more of a media
Mm-hmm.
centric event and type thing. Went to the IGN deal. Um, there was another one we went to as well, but overall, like the Xbox Fan Fest, that took the cake as far as, like, there were great games shown at the other places as well, but Xbox Showcase definitely delivered. And I don't know, I'm seeing some of the uh, I guess the bad news or the tough decisions that were talked about, and I
Yeah.
kind
Yeah.
of heard from somebody from the inside about what some of those might be, and kind of we already kind of heard some of that stuff. But all in all, I think this industry as a whole is going to see some more of that. Not just on the Xbox platform, but on other platforms. Like, I'm pretty sure everybody, on Team Blue is looking at Bungie and Nixus, especially since they're not doing the single player ports supposedly. If they're not doing the single player ports, then what's the purpose of Nixus at that point?
Mm-hmm.
Ben Studios hasn't had a project greenlit in a while, so it's only a matter of time on them. We'll see if Housemark met the numbers or the demand that they were hoping with Saros or something like that. Since especially since it's not getting a PC port apparently. Um, yeah, there's a lot on Team Blue that's probably going to be shocking, but we'll see how the gaming media handles it. But been loving what I've been hearing from Asha. Been loving what I've been hearing from Ball. Um, Even the stuff from Matt Booty as of recent. It, it it seems like there's a unison vision from Xbox, and
Mm-hmm.
moving forward, this is the competition we all kind of hope for, and we'll see how flexible that strategy is, and what it leads to, which they're targeting, getting some of that you know share of the the pie as far as hardware and all that stuff. So it's a great time to be a gamer in general, but a great time to be an Xbox gamer, I think. So
Yeah.
glad to be here.
Awesome, man. I got a couple questions to ask you too, just about the whole thing there. Like, one thing in particular I wanted to ask is, because like this is the first year that Asha Sharma is there, right? Um, and I think overall, I think most of us would all agree that she's done like a really good job, and she's even with the things that we anticipate coming, trying to be very transparent, at least a little bit about the reasoning why they're going to be doing things, besides just kind of everything's great. Oh, and by the way, hey, we're closing this, we're laying this. You know what I mean? Like, so even
Mhm.
that I think is like different and welcomed. But I was curious about, like, because we saw her do multiple interviews over this week, um, and then she had the whole blog post thing again, or an internal memo to the team about the whole reset, which we're going to cover on the show. But I'm just curious about her there with the fans. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I'm sure maybe you saw her standing there. I saw her posing with lots of people for pictures and all that
Mhm.
kind of stuff, and I would imagine she's probably never at any of the companies she's ran, they've never been like consumer, like fan focused like Xbox is, right? There was
Yeah.
Porch, which is like a home repair services company. There's Instacart, which is like, I don't think there's people going up to an Instacart event that are fans of getting groceries. You know what I mean? And then AI teams and all that Home Depot stuff. I mean, there's not
Yeah.
like fans showing up that are like diehard, bleed green type mentality at anything she's done before.
Mhm.
Did you like feel like do you think she felt like any sense that she was either one overwhelmed, two like kind of taken back with the like excitement and sensing like a reality of what all this is about, like three,
Mhm.
did she like how was she like interacting with everybody? Was it like a comfortable situation? Because Phil is like a gamer, but she's not a gamer. So I'm just curious how like her presence were. I thought she did good with on the stage
Yeah.
thing and also on the little scripted part for the showcase, but just there mingling around people, interacting, smiling. I'm sure people were trying to ask her questions and stuff like that she probably couldn't answer or whatever. But just how was she there at with the fans at the showcase?
I think she was pleasantly surprised by the reception. I don't think she was anticipating almost the entire hall of people to wanting to like take pictures with her and Booty and Aaron Greenberg and a few other executives from
Mm-hmm.
Microsoft and stuff. So I think it was one of those things. She was surprised, but she was able to adjust and adapt rather quickly, even to the point where she was wearing like I think Ben and a few others had made like these almost I want to say like Flavor Flav clock like chains
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and stuff to the point where she was, quick to be able to wear one of those. I think Aaron gave her his for a little bit, and she
Mm-hmm.
was willing to take pictures and stuff. But you could tell there was a point where it was starting to cause a little bit of a congestion as far as people getting their swag, and then moving to like the breakfast and snacks and things like that. So they had to move her through because she had to go and do some other things as well while there. So I don't think she was expecting that type of fanfare or reception
Yeah.
initially, but they almost had to drag her away because it's like, yeah, we gotta go kind of, and she still took a couple of more pictures with people. You'll see a lot of those on probably on social media now. But yeah, she basically she swam in the
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
pool real quick. It was one of those things where I could see somebody like getting overwhelmed and like, oh my God, how do I escape? But she took to it rather well, and it was great to see that she was willing to take the time to listen and talk with the fans, take pictures with the fans, and things along those lines. So she may not be that gamer, she knows her fans and customers based on the brand and wants everything that she can do to make their experience a memorable one. So
Yeah.
I think that part of her, wherever she picked it up or learned it from whatever former business that she was a part of, it's well fitted for the Xbox community. So she
Yeah.
she did an awesome job.
Yeah, I would imagine it's like different than when she took the job, like learning about the culture, seeing videos, probably, like seeing maybe like different things that she's introduced to. I don't know if she ever watched any content out there from anybody or anything like that, just about like, hey, this is like gamer culture and all this other kind of stuff, right? Xbox fan culture and all this other kind of stuff. But I imagine it's like a different thing to actually experience that. You know what I mean? Especially when you're the person in charge, you know?
Yeah.
So, it's something that it's just always interesting to think about is like how these people that are not used to these situations or how like I imagine it's kind of like almost like a educational thing and maybe she was trying to take everything in about understanding gamer culture and Xbox fan culture even more so now than beforehand, you know.
Yeah.
Um
No, I think she probably had some preparation from like the likes of Booty as well as Aaron
yeah.
Greenberg, what it would be like, but she took to it a lot better than I even anticipated. Because I figure, hey, he's the CEO. Yes, she's going to take time with the fans and things like that, but she's got other, things that she has to address or other appearances she has to make. And it was like they had to drag her away more so. So
Mm-hmm. That's
it's great
awesome.
to see that she wants to be around the fans, and the whole hear you aspect, it's authentic. It's one of those things where a lot of the stuff the community has asked for, we've seen in a relatively short period of time. Now, whether that stuff was shelved for whatever reason by previous leadership, she was able to get the troops basically up and running, get everything that makes Xbox up and going, and then focus on a few things. And that, even with like some of the interviews, like I don't think she really attested to it, but Matthew Ball did, where it's like they probably gave him, some bullet points on what to focus on, but he was pretty much off script. But it feels like their plan, their strategy is something that's not just simplistic, but understandable or reasonable to the point where they don't have to read from a cue card type of deal on what their plan is moving forward. And they understand that messaging is key. That may have been one of the weaker points of the previous set leadership and stuff. So messaging is what they want to focus on. That's kind of like where Matthew Ball was talking about the doing the two exclusives where Clockwork
Yeah.
Revolution could have been something they saved, but they're like, no, we need to make this a known thing and not just save it for later. Make sure that people understand that Gears isn't a one-off. They're going to slowly move into what a traditional console setup or platform is set out to be. So yeah, it's going to take some getting used to, and you can see how some of the gaming media is like unsure or trying to pick and pry of, well, why are you guys doing this? And not realizing, well, this has been the standard, across all the other platforms. So
Mm-hmm.
they're going to try that with their own spin and make it so they can make things more affordable, which I'm pretty sure people are gonna, I've already seen the response on the ads thing, but if done in a reasonable way, I think it can be worthwhile. Like if you're going to do a Game Pass for free with ads, may not be the tier for us. And I think that's something that might lure some of the people to at least try stuff out. We've seen ads in games. Even though they're not technically the ads that you would expect. Like if you're looking at a sporting game, the billboards in the background can definitely be ads. They don't have to necessarily announce it, hey, drink Pepsi. No, you just have a Pepsi sign like you would
Yeah.
at the
Yeah.
actual stadium kind of thing. And I think at that point, those types of things would be a way to get additional funding for some of these games or some of these, subscriptions or platforms and things like that. But yeah, they're at least it looks like they're using data while listening to the fans and seeing where everything converges, and that's,
Mm-hmm.
I guess, the best part that we could ask for, with them moving forward, so
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting 100 days ahead, I think. But I think it's going to be a wild ride, bro. I saw Matthew Ball's interview with Christopher Dring, and now Matthew Ball's only been there for like 10 days, something like that. He said.
yeah.
But he already seemed like he understood a lot of the assignment on what they are wanting to do and try to do. So, it's gonna be interesting with him, Asha and them coming together, and I can sense just from the way that he's been speaking that he's very core focused on that's basically what they need to do to bring it forward to recover, right? To not only recover but also to grow, you know. So it was interesting hearing him with that Christopher Dring interview. Now I'm not a huge Christopher Dring fan. However,
Same.
this was definitely worth a watch if you haven't checked out the Matthew Ball interview with Christopher Dring. I suggest that. I don't know where to get it other than I saw another person that I'm not a huge fan of, Jeff Keighley, post the whole thing on his Twitter. So
Mhm.
that is available there for everybody. Shout out to Chris Jones. Appreciate you, Chris. Hit us with the $2 super chat. Says Forza funny driving 43 hours. The goat. Yeah, I hope you weren't driving like in Forza. I imagine this is
There
pretty
there was a
much more
part in
casual.
California, like when you first get there, some of the hills and turns, it's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, these people like doing 80 in a 70, so I can match that. And Pennsylvania aggressive driving came out without causing any issues, just making sure nobody's cutting me off. I had the
Yeah.
self drive on for a little bit, so you leave too much of a gap, people are gonna get in there and cause your car to do panic stops and stuff. So it's like, all right, let's deactivate that and let's get back to regular driving and have some fun. My wife
Okay.
was like, "Oh, it's like a roller coaster."
It's like whenever I would drive in Vermont, Texas is flat, right? Right,
Yeah.
and not all of Texas. Like there's parts of Texas that aren't, right? But I have always lived in flat area, and everything is like a grid. It's like parallel perpendicular streets. Occasionally there's a curve or whatever, but like it's usually the north south east west. What roads go north south east. But whenever I drive in Vermont, I mean it's like up and down and windy and tight winds and just crazy, bro. So I don't know what it's like in LA, but I know it's probably trafficy as hell. But
There's certain highways, it's I wouldn't say a full-on parking lot, but it is very trafficy.
yeah,
On the outskirts, like when you first come into like Southern California, heading north to LA and stuff like that, it's very hilly. It's like they cut the roads through the mountains kind of thing. So
yeah,
it's fun, although don't look past the guardrail. It's like a 50-foot or 150-foot drop or something
mm-hmm.
on some of those. So it's like, and you see the skid marks where somebody must have obviously
Hit
tore
it,
out the guardrail on the
yeah,
previous run and they've replaced it type of thing. But yeah, it's very scenic. Drive on the outskirts, and then you just gotta if you drive in a major city with rush hour type traffic and you're used to
yeah,
dipping and
same thing,
dodging or
yeah,
zipper merges and stuff like that, then you'll be fine.
yeah. Right on, man. Well, I'm glad you had a good time, dude. What was your
Thank you.
favorite
Thank you.
showcase besides that? I mean, the Xbox showcase probably, right? But that
Yeah.
aside, have you had a chance to watch Nintendo's yet? Or
No, I haven't had a chance to watch
okay,
Nintendo's. Got the opportunity to watch, like when I finally got to LA, the PlayStation one, which I was able to listen to your stream in the car, but couldn't watch
yeah,
it. But I now see why, like the second half or the latter half, you were like, what the?
yeah. I was on
Yeah,
board with
the
it. People were saying I was just being a hater, but I was like, hey, this is a pretty good state of play until that last 20 minutes, and I was like,
Yeah, because everybody needs a
I don't know.
cube with a sword sticking out of it, moving around and bouncing into enemies, and that's I guess you can have additional damage or something.
I don't know.
I'm not going to nitpick on the game.
Yeah,
It's just it didn't look like what I was hoping for. But on the flip side, I won't have to worry about that because Senua will be what I'm looking for. It's almost like the combat of one or the perspective of one for the combat, but with all the visual niceties of the second installment. So it's looking forward to Senua. So
yeah,
that kind of erases God of War Lefay or whatever. I don't even
Buffet.
know.
Yeah,
Like I think they should have. I get why they call it God of War. It's within the series, but they should have just started with a whole new name and just call it Lefay or whatever and be
yeah.
done with it. But
I think Senua was my biggest surprise. Like
yeah,
I didn't think they were going to be anywhere near releasing another Hellblade game. And this is
yeah,
they said it's 2 times the size of Hellblade 2, right? So two
yeah.
times the size. We see that there's more enemies you're going at against instead of like just the one-on-one situations where they were like one at a time, kind of ushering in. Kind of felt like
Mhm.
the whole Karate Kid thing. Where like, hey, you're fighting against one person, and then hey, it's my turn, tag in. And I'm gonna kick your ass. Okay, my turn. The old school martial arts movies and stuff.
Yeah,
But like this seemed like this is gonna be more um dynamic as far as the combat goes, but also is going to keep all the heart of the graphics and the story and stuff like that. But I mean, they addressed it too in the Xbox Wire blog post about, well, it took you so long to make Hellblade 2. How come this one is like only taking this long? And they were just like, look, we did a lot of the tech. to make Hellblade 2, and we're
Mm.
able to get these now pumped out a lot quicker. So that was pretty damn cool to see. I think, although we did find out that um, what's the other project? Project Mara was canceled. So, which we don't really know what that was, other than it was a shiny sink. You know, like we saw a shiny sink and stairs in like a house. It was supposed to be some kind of like horror esque kind of thing. I'm thinking psychological. But if they can crank out more Hellblade games, because the whole studio's working on this and stuff, I think that's kind of maybe better for the studio too. You know. So was that your what was your biggest surprise from the Xbox show?
That was definitely up there. I do like what I saw as far as DMZ. I know I'm probably not going to play much of it, but that felt like the best competition for like an Escape from Tarkov, without it being a true one-to-one type of deal. We'll see how it is when it comes to like a play test and stuff, but love what I saw as far as how it looked. Um, I'm gonna say that Magic game at the very end was definitely up there as well. Um, wasn't sure if it was going to be first party or if it was a third party until like the very end being a third party deal. But I was like, wait, is that like a new contrast or a new thing from Compulsion or something like that? But it kind of had that vibe between a cross between what Compulsion or Arcane would probably work on type of deal. But State of K3, that I was so glad to see, and like a overall time frame when we can expect it. Uh, that the I guess that was DLC they showed for Fable, or one of the expansions or something like that. But everything that we saw on that, as far as the combat and stuff like that, definitely wasn't expecting that to be shown. Was expecting maybe the base game to be shown, but if that's going to be one of the expansions, that's pretty awesome as far as that's concerned. But Clockwork showed up great. I, I don't know if there was really a surprise beyond Senua, because that one
Yeah.
I would have thought that
Spyro,
whether
maybe. I
Project
mean,
Mara was going to be something, or I thought that there was also another project that they were going to work on that got greenlit that wasn't like Hellblade 3. I mean, I'm assuming Senua is going to be like the Hellblade 3, um, portion type of deal, or maybe it's something geared to be separate of Hellblade 3. But in any case, I was not expecting that to be shown this year. But State of K3, that was one of my prayers answered kind of thing. Looks great. The fact that we're going to have untethered exploration now and co-op. Yeah, I'll probably be that knucklehead that winds up getting killed. You'll have to get my stuff from my dead or from my
yeah,
zombified body type of deal. But yeah, it everything was made a great showing. And I know some people were like, oh, 76 and you know, Skyrim stuff, or Elder Scrolls Online, I should say. It's fine with those showing. I'm also a fan of seeing what is it, the Minecraft
Dungeons too.
dungeons do,
Yeah,
because I know me and PTK will probably wind up playing that. It's basically like Minecrafty Diablo. Is about the best way to look at it. Um, Definitely looking forward to that. And then what was another one that was? Oh, the Magpie one, which I like the Goose Game, and the fact that Goose Game eventually did like a co-op upgrade or whatever was pretty
hmm,
cool. And the Magpie one, it seems like instead of the Goose Game where you're only being a terror to humans, now it seems like you can be a terror to humans, animals, and even nature. So I'm curious to see how that plays out, especially if you can set things on fire. That's going to be kind of fun. So can't, can't wait to play that. But yeah, it was a great show overall, and I'm people already know I'm not a Halo fan or a Gears fan to the
yeah,
extent where it's like, "Oh, yeah, that was great," but I cannot deny how great both of those games look. Like, the fact that the Unreal Engine, I guess, remake for, Campaign Evolve looked awesome, um, and then just the way they were moving through the city, the L train,
yeah.
the, the spawn points coming out of the ground, the jumping from like the refrigerated areas in like the freezer section of the grocery store, fruit physics, because people are going to inspect that for whatever reason and compare that to all other games with fruit in it kind of deal. The just the brutality, the firepower, everything of it that they showed for E-Day looked amazing. And yes, I'm going to be playing that, campaign. I suck at the multiplayer, so I probably won't touch that at all. But the campaign, I'm definitely going to be playing. So, but it's a console exclusive, so we have those again, and still day one, which I know there were
Yeah.
a lot of people like, well, they can't do both.
Yeah. We
I,
kept
I,
talking about that's a made up thing. I mean, they were pushing game. This was one of my other big takeaways, Fuzz. Is you can't tell me they're trying to get away from Game Pass with having that big ass splash screen. Play it day one with Game Pass after every single one of those trailers that was in Game Pass, right? And they hadn't even done it as strongly as this in the previous year or two. I think before it was like they started to push Play Anywhere more so on their shows,
Mhm,
right? And this one, there was like back to Game Pass, and I think they were putting the emphasis on like, hey, everybody, shut up. These games, and they're trying to get Game Pass growth back up. They're being aggressive with that. So, but it was nice to see that they are going to do both, and they are going to keep both facets of the Xbox ecosystem alive, and they have a re-emphasis on the exclusive side, and that was doubled down again by Asha multiple times and by Matthew Ball since the show. So we're gonna have a new. I mean, this is a new era of Xbox. Everybody, this is
yeah.
they were trying stuff. It greatly last year, yeah, especially after into 2024 going into last year. Despite what a great year it should have been for them last year with the amount of great games they had, it definitely the price hike, for COD, and just the overall exclusive things and all this stuff, it really kind of did a lot of damage to their business as far as subscriber base, and stuff like that. We did find out from them multiple times as well, though, that the console market is still, people are still trying to buy them. They just can't
Hmm.
make them, be as fast as they need to because of the shortages, which was interesting too. Seeing is almost like I almost felt I don't know if this was a shot, but one of the things that Asha said in her um, memo was that they are in a even worse position than the competition when it comes to getting storage and memory and stuff because of decisions that were made 5 years ago.
Hmm.
And I'm trying to think back. Okay, it's like 2021, going into 2022. Though, like, is it cost issues? Is it budget issues? Where they're constrained on being able to get as much? Is it the fact that they have more facets of kinds of um, services that they're offering? As far as like accessibility with the cloud and all that. Like I'm trying to decipher exactly what that means, but it almost sounded like a shot that was kind of taken about like a bad decision that kind of maybe and obviously hindsight's 2020. Nobody knew that this RAM
Yeah.
shortage was and memory shortage was going to be here, but they're definitely feeling the constraints of that. And Matthew Ball went into that as well on his interview today. But they still feel like there's going to be growth, and yeah, it's gonna be crazy, man. 100 days of resetting this thing, and we'll talk about that. But yeah, I again, man, happy for you that you got to go,
Thank you.
and is seems like it was just an awesome time for everybody that was able to be there. But shout out to the chat. Thank you all for being here again. Appreciate you guys. Shout out to Void Rat. We got Negan here hanging out. Hope you don't crush my head in with a bat, Negan. Um, Shane G. Hope you're doing well, bro. Plume is here hanging out in the chat. Plume, hope you're doing well, man. I've been catching some of your streams lately. You've been on fire and always on point with your takes, bro. We got Obi here in the chat hanging out, man. I haven't seen you in a little while, Obi. I hope you're doing good, bro. Velzy's here. Everybody here. Hey, appreciate you guys. Thanks for watching. If you do like the channel, hey, hit the like button, share it out, notification bell, sub to the channel, all that stuff. It greatly helps people find us. If you're on audio platforms, hey, leave a review. It helps our discovery on audio as well. And share it out to somebody that also likes audio podcasts as well, because we're on Apple, we're on Spotify, we're on all those places, iHeart, all that as well. Sup, MM Lewis says Xbox didn't secure large orders of components, so now Xbox basically has no stock on hand to absorb some of the demand. They have to place new orders, so all the components are now super high. Yeah, that goes back to when they were kind of still having the shortages back, right after COVID or during COVID even, and other platforms are in a better position to still move hardware, and Xbox like had no stock, you know. And then that led into 2022 when they only had Redfall really for first party and a couple of smaller games. Um, and that was just kind of like the start of when things started turning sideways, But then they were like, "Hey, we're still competitive. We're gonna go buy ABK, We're gonna compete, We're gonna do it. We're gonna do it this way." Cinemax Bethesda, got all this shit. Now we got the games. You got the games, but consoles are super expensive, right? They're hard to get, and they got to try and grow in a different environment now. You know, Redfall was 2023. I thought Redfall was 2022. Antonio Newman says Redfall is 2023.
I know they showed it at the 22 showcase because I was there for the showcase in 22, so they showed it.
Oh, you're right. It
But I
was
guess it
2023.
came out in 23.
What was in
But
2022? Was that the year they didn't have anything then? Xbox first
see,
party
a lot of their stuff was delayed
releases.
because that was the 22 showcase was the 12 months. So they did show Redfall in
Okay,
that one, and they showed a few others that like Forza Motorsport they showed, but that wound up getting pushed outside the 12 months.
you're right.
I think they had for
I
22
looked it
they
up.
had
Crossfire X,
yeah.
which wasn't that first party
Pentiment,
game. Yeah, Grounded,
Pentiment.
and As Dusk Falls.
Oh yeah.
So that's what it was. You had 2022 that really didn't have anything, and then you went into 2023, and Redfall was like, finally we're gonna have a game, and then it was that, and it was like, oh shit, it was like a oh shit moment. That was like probably the worst like year and a half for this generation for sure, right? I think since then things have rebounded definitely. You had Starfield later in 2023, then you had 2024 had a lot of good games. 2025 had a lot of uh, really good games. So, but yeah, thanks for correcting me, Antonio. It's just like 2022 is just like just ingrained in my brain as like this shitty year, for Xbox, right? Still lots of stuff to play in general, but as far as first party wise, they were not putting out stuff that year.
Yeah.
They were kind of like PlayStation is now. Um, I will say though that PlayStation going forward at least has first party games, like other than these games of service flops. So that's at least something to look forward to. But well, all right, man. Let's get into it, Fuzz. The big reset. Asha says the first 100 days were about reviving Xbox. They had good traction on that. They've started winning back the core. They've she's been learning a lot. They brought back exclusives. Gears of Ide. By the way, best looking first party game this generation for me was Gears of Ide. Like it just looked insane. I'm not, and when I say that, I'm not only talking about graphics. I had a tweet. I'm gonna read this tweet. Said PlayStation not even putting their single player games on PC anymore, and some of these games media and PS gamers that praise that are mad about Xbox not putting Gears on PlayStation. Well, karma is a bitch, ain't it? Gears E-Day is the best looking first party game this gen. Period. Now, when I say that, I that kind of blew up. Yeah, that pissed off a lot of PlayStation guys apparently. Um, when I say best looking game, I don't necessarily just mean graphics. Now, the graphics, you can make an argument, that it might be like the best looking game this generation. But you have games like Death Stranding 2, you have games like, Forza Horizon 6, stuff like that may you can make a case for, or it's up there. Hellblade 2, right? Up there as well. You could make a case for that. Um, it's best in class graphics, regardless of Gears E Day. What I was speaking to was not just graphics. I was talking about best looking game. Like that fucking game looked amazing, right? Like that they captured the spirit of Gears. They brought Gears back to what it is, and that showing that they had, not only the trailer that they showed, but also the direct that they had afterwards. Gears blew my fucking mind, bro. I think also the best first party game showing that's existed this generation as well. I remember the Starfield direct was really impressive. Everybody was really hyped about that. But this was this was insane. Like Gears E Day is so freaking hyped for it, man. Even Digital Foundry's gushing over Gears E Day Beer Baron. Yeah, I mean, why wouldn't they be? It looks fucking incredible. So, first 100 days, reviving. Brought back exclusives, including Gears E Day. Clockwork Revolution is going to be an exclusive for 2027. We're also going to have State of Decay 3 next year. You're going to have Senua next year. And Fable in February. So next year's already loaded for first party, right? All those games are going to be day and date and Game Pass as well. So re-emphasizing that. Now we have the next 100 days are not about reviving. It's about resetting, right? It's about, okay, this is what we're going to be about. This is kind of, I almost feel like, almost feel like Fuzzy, like the first 100 days was like almost like a test case to see if they can reignite the energy of the fans?
Yeah, I think they were probably trying to gauge how the response would be and see if, certain things that they were doing, like the lowering of price of Game Pass, if that started getting people to resubscribe and stuff along those lines. So I'm pretty sure they were putting some feelers out to see how willing the fan base is to bounce back and either pick up, some of the games that are coming out, resubscribe to Game Pass, or possibly pick up hardware. Because they started doing things like on the players that are on Xbox One, they offered them a just for you price for the
Yeah.
series consoles, which I'm curious to see how well that did. If it did well internally, I'm here
Oh,
that, not necessarily for the console wars, but at least knowing that, okay, these things are working. You're now past the 35 million. You're on your way to 40 or 45 million subscribers. We're now past, although I still think they're probably closer to 50 million series consoles. They may announce that, hey, we've passed the Xbox One generation of 60 something million, with these recent moves. So I'm curious to see, um, if well, not curious to see, but I'm pretty sure these things that they put out there as feelers paid off, and that's probably the next reason why they're doing the reset, because now they have to go a little bit harder as far as, yeah, I mean, we're gonna have to do layoffs, but I before we even get to that part, I know there's going to be other platforms that have them, but nobody's going to talk about that in the gaming media and stuff. But yeah, it's great to see that the energy that we've had these past couple of months off of some of the what may seem like small changes definitely have been paying off for them.
yeah. I think like it's interesting because what if like the fan base didn't get re-excited and reignited and the energy wasn't coming back and they dropped the price on Game Pass and they didn't see the numbers start to turn around. You know what I mean? Forza Horizon 6 didn't come out and explode, like would there have still this optimistic outlook? I almost feel like this first 100 days was like not just about learning and trying to get some easy wins. I think it was trying to see what kind of impact that they can make. You know what I mean, by going back to the core. You know, and is this something that we can build upon before they make the drastic changes that I think they're about to be making? And I think it is a good thing ultimately that it did seem to have results for them, right? Now they've gone in to acknowledge this as well, not only in Asha Sharma's um, Xbox Wire post, but also, at the all the interviews that she did, as well as the, um, you know, uh, points she's made before the showcase. Like, I think that going to be in store for a lot of changes. It's going to be very interesting and crazy. I don't know what they're going to be exactly, but there's a reason why at all of these interviews and then following it up with that post using the same language, right? Being transparent about, the whole 3% accountability margin thing not being good, you know, about the business hasn't been healthy. They're not in a healthy place that they are going to be, and then followed up with the confidence of we are going to be number one in entertainment and gaming, right? Gaming and entertainment company in the world is kind of what they're going for, right? So, and she said that with confidence. So, 100 days of resetting. I feel like the most major things that are probably going to happen within this window are probably going to happen sooner than later. Now, I do find it interesting also that she did put a 100-day thing on there, because that's talking about before holiday season this year. You're talking about the fall, by into summer, going into fall. September, around then, this reset period that they're giving them time for this reset is over, right? What does that look like? What is the first shoe to drop, Fuzzy? Like when you hear her say reset, and you have reports coming out in July, there's going to be layoffs, all this other kind of stuff. Like, is that the first thing you think, or is that just a part of it?
I think that'll be part of it. I'm under the impression this is going to be more of a surgical type of layoff. And when I say that, it's not that the previous ones didn't have their merit or base it off of, some sort of internal metric, but I think the dev teams that are able to run, lean and mean. Like I think of InXile as one of those teams. I think of, considering they have their third iteration coming out here soon or being announced. I think of, uh, what oh, what is the name of the team? It just escaped me. The one for Senua and Hellblade. What's
A
that?
Ninja Theory.
Uh, Ninja Theory. I think teams like that are going to probably be on the safe side. I would hope that Double Fine is another one of those teams. We've been able to churn out, even though they're small, quirky type games, but you need that within your catalog. And it sounds like that would be a off limits team to affect negatively in that fashion, because they're working hard at releasing games. Yeah, they might not be the biggest bangers or anything like that, but you need party type games, or you need puzzle type games that fill in the service as far as for Game Pass or just having them on the platform. So a small team like Double Fine is one that I think will be fine. They may start looking at, the bloat over at Activision. And I don't say bloat as in there's a lot of redundancy or anything like that, but they're probably going to have to look at how they go about releasing COD every year and making it where it's efficient, not overly bloated in the sense of you have teams all working on their iteration of COD, and then, oh, well, they have to put what they're doing down to help out this other team. I think they're going to start looking at how those teams might need to be structured where either it's pared down to one or two teams and they alternate that way, or start making it where support teams might be something that they move to contract work, which I don't know how I feel about that either, but if it means that their balance sheet works and the productivity, improves, then that might be the move moving forward. But I do think I don't think there's a studio closure, but I do think that there are going to be some teams that may be hit a little bit harder than others, and I'm thinking some of that will be at the Activision end of things.
Yeah.
Um, but we'll see. I don't want it to be that, but I think it's bound to happen. When it comes to Playground, they got two big titles coming through here soon. One just landed. The other one's going to be landing, February of next year. I think they're probably safe at this point. Um, Bethesda, eh, I know that there were some layoffs after Project Blackbird got, shuttered. I would love to see that game reactivated, but all things considered, they might start whittling down the teams to focus on a specific Fallout team, a specific Elder Scrolls team, a specific Starfield team, and I know that may not be what Todd wants to hear, but it's probably what he's going to be left to deal with, kind of thing. Outside of that, I think, and I've seen some of these rumors pop up before. I think the OEM consoles might be an option. Yes, they will still do the first party hardware, but some of the language that they're saying, because of the cost of memory and the cost of storage, I could see non SSD consoles where if you're able to connect to the cloud, like basically a super Fire Stick kind of thing, where it has the internal power of a console, but the storage is cloud based. I know some people don't trust cloud based storage and stuff, and
Hmm.
that would be another thing that they can monetize. But I think if it makes it so the console is back to 300 or 500, and you just gotta pay that, maybe it's part of your Game Pass subscription. You pay your 23 or 25 a month or whatever. You have your games in the cloud. They're able to access. It's the graphics are pushed to the limit on what the console can do itself. Maybe that's the cheaper way to get hardware in people's hands. Um, I I hate to say this after making so much fun of Nintendo, and yes, I own a Switch too, but that thing is like an etch a sketch compared to the Steam Deck, as far as I'm concerned. Maybe they look at underpowered hardware that can run current gen games and previous gen games flawlessly, just to make it so there's that option for the $200 to $300 price point range, or maybe it's $400 to undercut the Switch, but still plays all of the big, first party and third party games that are either playable on the Switch or that were playable on the previous gen consoles, or that will be able to handle the current gen console stuff even going into the next gen. So I see them doing some crazy things in that regards as far as hardware. The partnered stuff, the internal stuff themselves. I see the Fire Stick still continuing, 'cause I'm pretty sure that's doing well for them as well. But that Keystone device, maybe that's brought back to the forefront to be that less expensive alternative as well. We'll see, but I layoffs I think will probably be a third to half of what the reset is. The other reset's going to be hardware related, and
Hmm.
we see you know underpowered Series X and S, or missing an SSD Series S and X, and you pay for the cloud type of stuff, and now you have a $300 console that you're going to be tied to paying 20 or 25 a month storage, but you'll be able to afford the console. They'll be able to churn those out relatively quickly, and in time for things like GTA 6 and stuff like that. So we'll see.
Yeah, man. The good thoughts on that. It's been something like I was breaking down yesterday on my stream about Asha's notes, right? And I mean, she's been pretty clear with like where they need to go direction wise, but like she's not going out there and saying this is exactly what we're gonna do, but she's saying what we need to accomplish, basically what our targets and what our goals should be. Number four on her list of one, she had five things basically when she put this memo out there about the reset. Number four was extremely interesting to me because I think number four kind of spoke to where a shift of focus is going to be going. Specifically, she said, we expanded our studio system when we needed a pipeline of content to meet multiple strategies across subscription, streaming, and devices. In the process, we have found ourselves overextended as we executed on changing strategies in a landscape of more readily available content. We are the fortunate stewards of industry defining franchises that have enormous potential and player demand, but we have not adequately funded them to compete and win. At the same time, as we saw this past weekend at Showcase, a reliable pipeline of first and third party exclusives and new IP are critical to our success. We need to reassess the balance between these and our investment priorities for the next 5 years. So, there's multiple ways of looking into that specifically. And I think this gives us a lot of hints about what is going to be entailed, at least for things that are going to directly affect us and the games that we're going to be getting, but also maybe affect the studios at Xbox. Specifically, they talked about a time when they had made acquisitions to be able to achieve certain things, but they're overextended now. When you say you're overextended, that tells me that you are saying that we need to trim, we need to streamline, right? So I feel like they're looking at things and be like, where can we make cuts, that are not going to be as important as these other things. Where she also went on to say that the big franchises basically are underfunded, right? They're not adequately funded, is what she said. Not funded enough to compete and win. Now, you can look at things like Halo. You can look at things like Fallout. You can look at tons of different games, right? And I kind of feel like what we're gonna see potentially is like you were getting into a little bit, is a shift of focus from some of these smaller titles and stuff, and pour those resources into things that are actually going to have bigger impact for the business, because as great and darling as Keeper is, and Kiln, they're fun games. Or like like Keeper might have won some awards for things, you know what I mean. um I don't know how many people are being saying I need to get into the Xbox ecosystem to play that game, right? And they're in a time where they're trying to grow, and I have a fear for Double Fine right now, honestly. Now I don't know what they have cooking, you know. I don't know what they have cooking. Now this could just go to greenlit projects. They could say Double Fine, look, right? We need Brutal Legend 2. Okay? We need something that's going to really drive, because these different projects, like, we can't just release a game like Kiln and just have it out there and nobody play it and nobody care. I mean, it's a fun game, it's a pretty good game, but it's not impacting Xbox's business. You know, like even if it is smaller to fund, if it's not costing as much money, what is it actually doing for them? What is it doing in the grander scheme of things? And those resources that went to the game, even if it's smaller, well, could have those been used somewhere else? You know, that would have had a bigger impact. So I do have a fear for studios like Double Fine, and now I would say as well, I think Double Fine is one of those studios that if they get shut down outright, that is going to be a massive PR deal with games media, um, just gaming fans in general, because they are one of these like studios that's been around for a long time. Tim Schafer is an industry legend, right? They had acquired them. You know, they had Tim Schafer up on stage, you know, all that kind of stuff. They released a few games since then. Nothing's really, besides Psychonauts 2, been that big of a deal, right? Um, if they actually just shut them down, you're gonna have a lot of pissed off people, right?
Yeah.
So what I hope the case is, if they do decide to move on from a studio like Double Fine, you can find a way for them to be like, okay, you know, can we find a way for you to be independent again? You know, can we find a way for you to be becomes part of something else? You know, or whatever. Other than outright just shutting the studio, because I do think studios like Double Fine are important for the gaming industry, right? But I have fear that Microsoft and Xbox may not find them important for them right now, and maybe rightfully so, right? With the position they're in, they're looking at trying to affect things. They're looking at trying to, you know, make big impacts, and they're constrained on cost and you know all these other kind of things. It's like where do we make cuts? I would say that would be one that they could potentially look at. I think Ninja Theory is more safe because Senua is around the corner. Now, like I said, it might just be like, hey, these are things that we are. It's not necessarily about cutting down the studios. Maybe it's going to be about cutting down the kinds of projects and being more forceful or more picky about the projects that get greenlit, right? We've seen that numerous times at different publishers as well. Not necessarily forcing them to make something, but you got to bring in something that's going to make a difference here, right? Um, so it's going to be interesting how that's going to play out, and I think we're going to see some now. I hope there's no studio closures. However, what I read there kind of tells me that if there's not studio closures, there's going to be studio divorces. Maybe, you know, like there's going to be. I think there's going to be something like that. I think they're going to streamline the studio pipeline, and I think I was trying to look at the studios like and trying to figure out what all they could be. You know, I don't see a lot of games like Pentiment getting greenlit. You know, right now.
No.
I don't see games like you know a Kiln getting greenlit. I don't you know, and I would want like if Senua, I think Senua needs to perform next year. You know, I think it needs to do pretty well because I don't know like if it doesn't have a big impact or do well for them based on what the cost of running the studio is and all that kind of stuff. If they're not like what is that impact going to be as well? You know, Undead Labs has got a game around the corner, so I think they're gonna be safe. That's going to be something that they're going to be able to build upon. So it's really hard to really dive into the studios and think about what studios it could be. You know, the reason I jumped to Double Fine is because they just released a game. You know,
Well, one of the things that was kind of hinted to on some of those notes is that divorce can mean kind of like what Toys for Bob did,
right?
where
Yeah,
it's allowed to go back independent, and to some extent, even what eventually happened with Tango GameWorks. They were shuttered, but then they were able to be sold to Net. I think it was NetEase or something like that. One of the things that I mentioned before with maybe there's a shift on where the studio falls. Like, so for example, and I hope they don't take it to the letter of what I said, but somebody like Playground, where if their games are going to be that multi-plat game, maybe they're moved to Activision and
Yeah.
under Activision because they seem like they can run independently and still produce quality content.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's something that they need to be under the house of Activision because they are that type of independent. Um, and then all of the studios that are going to make the exclusive content moving forward, maybe they stay under the Xbox Studios. Maybe, and I'm pretty sure this would be like, taking somebody's firstborn kind of thing, but maybe Fallout becomes an Xbox Studios IP. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
it's handed off to Obsidian and InXile as their pet project between, moving forward. Like maybe they take the lead. It's like, look, Howard, we love you. You're doing awesome work, but you're going to have to spend your time focusing on Elder Scrolls 6 and then whatever is next for Starfield because we need something Fallout iterated like yesterday. We're going to hand those rings over to Obsidian and InXile as the backup. InXile, if people aren't aware, they're the ones that kind of did I think the first two, definitely the first one, but I think the second one as well, a Fallout. And Obsidian was involved in that as well as involved in Fallout New Vegas. So those teams are familiar with the franchise since it wasn't, if I'm not mistaken, Fallout wasn't a Todd project, although he was definitely an integral part, but it was something
Yeah.
that Bethesda was already making before he came there, and he just basically expanded upon what that game was eventually, or what it eventually became. Like Starfield is definitely his child. Um, Elder Scrolls eventually became his child because I think that's he got hired for, was it Narrowwind or Morrowind or something like that, like
Mm-hmm.
one of the earlier ones, and then he was kind of the lead moving forward on that after that. But maybe, Fallout becomes an Xbox Studios title with Obsidian and InXile now having, complete creative control. I know that may not go over well within the fan base of Fallout, but that might be what's needed to get a Fallout 5 out the door within 10 years or within 5 years if need be. But I could see something radical like that possibly happening and it being a news story that, oh, Todd's not happy. Todd might leave Bethesda. Blah, blah. I, I don't know if
Yeah.
that would be enough for him to want to say, I'm out. But I do think, I think he might be in a way relieved because that'll free him up to focus on the TV aspect of things with that franchise, focus on Elder Scrolls 6 and potentially a TV deal for that or a TV deal for Starfield. So at some point he's going to want to retire. I figured after Elder Scrolls 6 that was going to be his swan song with, finding a key person to kind of in the rings off to for Fallout, but maybe they accelerate that to some extent to at least get a quality Fallout game that's mainly a single player setup out the door sooner. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if some of that, studio shakeup winds up being something like that. Like maybe IPs that are sitting dormant over at Activision are what's, I wouldn't say pushed upon, but maybe Rare has to pick up something that was over at the Activision, you know, collection of games, or maybe Compulsion's next game winds up being one of those dormant IPs over at Activision. Like I
Yeah.
think that might
Is
be
it
something.
like something where they, hey, you guys need to like make something that's gonna matter? You know what I mean? For business wise, I'm not saying it
Yeah.
doesn't matter for gamers. You know what I mean? I know there's plenty of people that enjoy these games and stuff, but I'm just talking about like
Mhm.
for their business. For
Yeah.
Xbox's perspective.
And maybe they're allowed to, make those passion projects after they do one of the assigned projects. It's like, all right, you guys are assigned, true crimes or something to that effect. Your next project after that, you can immediately go back to your passion project that was greenlit but put on hold or shelved for a bit. Pick that up after you finish, this IP or something to that
Yeah.
effect.
I mean, it's good to have a wide variety of kinds of games. I do think that there's something to like, hey, hey, let's make more different kinds of games for Game Pass, all that kind of stuff. But like, not when they take fucking like 6 years to make. You know what I mean? Like, South of Midnight took them forever. You know, so it's like cool. You know, awesome. It won awards and stuff. You know, like it was one of their like award show season kind of games last year and stuff. You know, but like overall, it's like how much did it do for them business wise, and that's something that they're probably looking at. It is a shame. I mean, studios like Compulsion, like I think, are important, right? So if there is cuts in that way where whole studios are affected, I hope it's more of like a separation instead of just like a closure, you know. But we'll have to wait and see. I don't know what's gonna happen. But the reset, I think, is gonna be wild. Everybody, let me get this $2 super chat earlier from Jay Rimbert. Appreciate you, Jay. Said, tell the ponies to stop crying. Shaking my head. I'm guessing you're talking about Gears E Day and Clockwork Revolution being exclusive. I'll try and tell them in their language. Cut it out. It'll be all right. It'll be all right. You have Lafayette. You have Magic Cube. You know, you'll be okay. You know, it's exclusive. You know, it's funny that nobody's like, why is God of War Lafayette exclusive? That game's not even on PC. Nobody's fucking even nobody even care. Nobody cares. First off, nobody wants that shit on their platform. They're like, thank God it's exclusive. Fuck. Could you imagine if that was our studio and did that? Whew. Keep it. We got Gears. PC players can play it. You can play it in the cloud if you want. You can take Cubed. Take it. It's fine. We don't need it. Right? Stop crying about Gears. We got the real GOW over here. So it's gonna be interesting watching the studios. Yeah, and like speaking of, also like this is a whole industry thing. I think you're gonna see more of this stuff from PlayStation 2, right? You're gonna see more of PlayStation 2, all this stuff. So this is not just like an Xbox only problem. We've already seen like PlayStation literally reset their business twice in the last decade. In the last what, like 6-7 years, Xbox or PlayStation reset their business twice, reset all of their studios making games as service games, and all of a sudden nobody's making games as service games. They said, hey, we're going to PC, and they're like, we're not going to PC. You know, like these businesses are changing. They're scrambling, trying to figure out how to make things happen. You know, but this next 100 days is going to be, I think, interesting. Like that's just one thing. You know, um, the other thing is going to be, like you said, hardware related, as well. So, like, she's pretty much came out and said that they're addressing what Helix is, right? When asked in an interview about, or was this during the Christopher during Matthew Ball? No, I can't remember which interview I heard this one in. One of the two. They're basically going in and making sure that Helix is something that's going to be obtainable by people. You know what I mean? They're looking at things. They're gotta try and adjust things, and they're that's it's gonna happen. They're committed to it, But I also don't think it's the only answer for them. They're inventing new business models. They're they're looking at hardware. There's talk of right now, like which has been something that's been in discussion about an ad based, either Game Pass subscription, but also maybe inserting ads into games and stuff like that as well. So there's lots of different things on the table about how they're going to help offset cost, and it's going to be interesting to see. Resetting the business is a very strong thing, very strong way of putting it. Um, and with 100 days from now, there will be a different Xbox than there is today. And that's something that we have to look at. And it's a speculation. This is all speculation. We don't know what that means exactly. I hope the best for the studios. Obviously, they're in a much different position than they were, I think, when the last time they made major studio cuts. I did see somebody in the chat say that they think Turn 10. I saw a couple people say Turn 10 might be ones to go. I don't think that's the case. And I'm going to point to you specifically why I don't think that's the case. Number 5 from Asha Sharma. Our current platform infrastructure is not built for the battle ahead. Our systems are overly complex, spanning hundreds of dependencies, which hinders our ability to move fast. We've become too reliant on vendors to operate our systems and must become more self reliant as an engineering culture to build for the future. We must increase the value we ship to players while decreasing the time it takes to do so. Going forward, we'll evolve and rebuild our stack and look at capabilities across all Xbox and potential M&A to help us win in hardware, PC, mobile, and streaming. Now, regarding Turn 10, do you want to get rid of the studio that helped engineer the engine responsible for Forza Horizon, Forza Motorsport, and Fable? I mean, they are the engine guys. You know what I mean? They are the tech guys. They are the ones that are building that technology to make a lot of this possible. Turn 10 is behind a lot of that stuff you see at Playground. That's why Turn 10's name is on Forza Horizon. It's not just Playground games. And if you have the culture, and I know she's speaking to platform in general here, but if you have the culture of wanting to be more in-house, less outsourcing, less contract work, less dependent on outside sources, I would think you would not want to get rid of some of the best engineers you have in house. And what happens to those engines going forward and support for them and innovating on them if you just get rid of all of Turn 10? Like, what happens to that innovation? What happens to the future of those franchises when if Fable is a hit and they decide to keep doing Fable and they do Fable 2, right? Well, you would think, Turn 10 might help with Forza Tech Engine and being able to innovate on that and build upon that like they have been with this Fable and on Forza Horizon 6. What about innovations to help push Forza Horizon 7? That's going to be an inevitable thing, right? I don't think you can cut Turn 10. What I hope is going back to number 4. Well, she was saying they have the franchises that have been inadequately funded. I hope what they do is allocate some of those resources from some of the other things to reinforce Turn 10 and build Forza Motorsport back up, because it is still a pillar of Xbox. As amazing as Forza Horizon 6 is, it is still not the same kind of game. And anytime you have a new console, and I would think Matthew Ball made, hopefully he has some sense with him with this, and maybe can talk to Asha and the teams there. Anytime you have new hardware, you have all this stuff. Racing games across all platforms are a major thing. And it's not just about the Simcade open world racers, it's about the showing off of those track racers, right? And Forza Motorsport, as great as it was, they dropped the ball in several areas here. Maybe because it was adequately funded, they didn't really support the studio well. And then when after it launched, they ended support on it. They cut the studio in half. Maybe it's one of those things they're looking at being like, hey, this was actually a mistake, right? Like, you look at even the Switch, okay? Their racing game is Mario Kart, right? Yeah, it's not the same as Gran Turismo or Forza, right? But it is still a racer. That's a tentpole franchise for that helps sell. PlayStation has GT. You don't get rid of motorsport altogether. right? I really don't think you do. I think you go back and you build it back up. And I hope that's the case. But also, turn 10, you don't want to get rid of that team, right? You don't want to get rid of that name. It has a historic legacy within Xbox. Going back to their OG Xbox, you're losing something very crucial and core there. So I don't think it's turn 10, guys. I could be wrong, and I'm putting this energy out there because I don't want it to be. You know, I would, as much as I think studios like Double Fine and Compulsion and those things are awesome. You know, I'd rather keep the core of what Xbox was and build upon that than keep investing in small projects and art house things and fun things that these guys are just making because they're like always have the desire to make this kind of thing. We don't need any more pottery brawlers. Okay, we don't necessarily need that. Like, but I feel like Forza Motorsport is something that's pretty could be a big deal again. It could. So, reallocation, man. Reallocation of resources. Trimming the fat. Reallocation of resources. Hardware. Fuzzy, what is Helix gonna actually end up being? Is it just gonna be pure OEM at this point? You think, or do you think they did double down on it not too long ago and say it is a first party made device, right? So that is
Yeah.
the. But will they go very OEM and allow like several different people to be making them? They can all outsource their own memory and all these other kind of things, and have more different options for us, different kinds of power levels, and like I'm curious what is Helix gonna turn into?
Here's my gut, especially based off of some recent things they've said. I think it will be a lower spec from Xbox. Like, I think they're going to target a device that can be sold with, some, I guess, coverage from or subsidies covering the price where it could be sold for between 650 to 800. So that means the memory spec of the granddaddy one that we saw that was like 48, gigs or whatever, that might be left for the OEM to do. And then if you want that spec, you're going to pay the 1200 to 1500 over at ROG or Lenovo or whoever. But I think the one from Xbox will be something like 24 gig. It'll be more than ample to run great games for PC as well as console at a fidelity that is far above what the series is doing now. Um, it may wind up being, a 1 terabyte, 2 terabyte from them themselves, where that price point of the 650 to 800 kind of fits. I I've said this before, and Steam might be the ones where they kind of get this from, where I could see the controller being sold as a separate device because they've been very good at allowing the previous gen controller to be usable on the next generation box. So your controllers can also move forward with you.
Yeah,
So if that means they can keep it at a lower price point, so it's not as, I mean, things are going to be ridiculously priced next generation no matter what, but I think 650 to 800 is a little bit more digestible even if it doesn't have a controller, especially if you can reuse your current controller. Now, if you want to get the haptic controllers that they may show, at Gamescom or something like that, you might spend like $100. So it'll be almost like buying a Steam controller. The current price for, the next generation controller will be $100. The Elite will be 150 to $200. Sure, that's a good bit more than what they are now, but I think people were more willing to pay 100 for a controller than 1,200 for a console. Um, so if they can make up some of the cost on the controller versus the console, I think that it puts them at a little bit better, you know, approach as far as getting, new gamers. But as far as what that control or that console, what Helix can do, it'll still be able to play PC games. I don't think you see a Steam app on it. I think you can put Steam games on it, much like if you're on your PC now and you open up the Xbox app, it looks and finds the Steam games on there, but it's not like it's a Steam specific app. So I think you'll be able to do the same. You'll be able to go through your browser, go to steam.com, download the games to the Helix, at a, on the SSD that's in it. Unless they get rid of SSDs, like I was saying earlier, and they're all in the cloud. I hope they don't go completely that route, but let's just say you get the one with the 1 terabyte. You go to your Steam account via the browser that's built in. You download those games. Those games will be playable and searchable through your console, and you'll be able to play them as if they were native on that console. But I don't think you see a Steam app. Do you see an Epic app? Maybe, or maybe there's instructions on how to install um, the Epic app. The same thing could be said about like a Steam app, but I don't think it ships out to the customer with those pre-installed. Not saying that the relationship is soured between those other stores, but there will be a push once they get comfortable with what they want for the console end of things. They're going to reset also the PC store and make that more appealing. I know a lot of people are still going to stick with Steam, but if it's basically like Steam 2.0 that's already on a box that's or more reasonably priced than a pre-built computer, that might be their in on the PC side of things, because the PC market for them is still growing with Game Pass. Maybe that's how they pick it up on the back end without necessarily putting the Steam app. Because I guess the big question would be, if they put the Steam app on there natively, couldn't you just buy all your games through Steam and just use the box to play? Typically, yes. I mean, that would be something you could do, but not that I'm worried about how they make their money, but I'm pretty sure they're worried about it, and they would look at that and say that's not advantageous for us. We're possibly losing X amount of dollars that we're subsidizing on this box, and then the customer doesn't buy anything in our store. They're probably going to make it so, not that it will be a challenge to put those on that console, but I do think you'll have to do a couple extra steps. Just like if you want to put Game Pass on the Steam Deck, you have to go through a couple of steps. So it'll be a similar process to probably do the same. But once you do it, then you never have to worry about it again. But I think that console from Xbox themselves goes with 24 gigs, which will be ample power. If you want the one that's 32 or 48, go pick up that MSI version or go pick up that ROG version. And I think you're going to pay that unsubsidized price that will be out there, because ROG and or Asus and Lenovo aren't going to subsidize them. But Xbox, it sounds like they still want to do that, especially considering how pricey things are. They're going to look at price effective things to get people to buy into the ecosystem. But I also think instead of a Series S, I think there's one that's almost identical in spec to the Helix, just that it's not going to do the PC games. I don't know if that creates too much confusion for future customers, but I could see that being the $400 or $500 box. It doesn't have all the PC bells and whistles, but it can play all the console games. Because they're going to still make a push to have a lot of third parties in their ecosystem. Now, could those same games that are PC games run on this device? Probably, but you'll have to get them through like the Xbox store. I could see it being that kind of thing where maybe you're still paying for online access with that box, but the people that paid $300 more, maybe they're not paying for the online access, but they'll have access to their library from other stores. I could see some confusing things like that happening, but I think in the grand scheme of things, if you have a $400 or $500 option, say a $800 option, your controllers move forward with you. I think that's how they win going into next gen. Still selling hardware, still growing the platform, still making it where people are going to want to subscribe to Game Pass, and possibly even have the extended life of the series consoles last even longer. Just like people that have Xbox Ones can play series games via Game Pass Ultimate with the cloud streaming. maybe they do the same as far as moving forward for the series consoles. So that way, for us that have our series consoles but may not be able to either trade them or don't want to trade them and are not ready to do day one on the next gen, will still be a part of the conversation because they'll still support cross gen probably 5 years into the next generation as well. So we'll see. But I do think Helix, although I'm going to say this just for the community to stop saying $1,000 and $1,200, start thinking of the price points that are existing today and maybe 100 or 200 more. But don't go anything above that because I think they will make that option for us and then leave it to third parties to do the even bigger option. So if you do want to spend the 1,500 and you want the 48 gigs of memory, by all means, go ahead and spend that money. Go ahead and get that fully loaded Helix. But coming out of their camp, I think they want it to be reasonably priced. I think they still want people to say 650 for a console or maybe as high as 800 for a console. I can do that in a paycheck, or I can do that
Yeah.
on my Best Buy card and not have to think twice about it, kind of thing. So we'll see.
And there's a lot of speculation fuzz on what they mean by, you know, new business models when it comes to like the platform thing.
Mhm.
Because Asha also in one of the interviews was made a point to be like, I'm here to fix that. You know, it seems like it's a very important thing for them to have an affordable option for people that get access to their games. Now we already, I mean, have that with just like cloud and stuff like that. But I almost think they're cooking up something else, and I think Helix is going to exist. I think they're going to try and have the cost as low as possible. I still think it's going to be a high end device. Um, I don't think that much specs are going to change that much. I think the model of what they allow on the platform might change so much so that way, like I don't know what kind of subsidizing and all that kind of stuff they're going to do. Maybe they look at stuff with ads and stuff or different things. I don't know what they're going to do to help with the cost of it, right? Partnerships, you could look at like different ways of being able to purchase one through other kind of deals with retailers and stuff. But like the way she was talking, I want to get into this specific one. And this was number 3. We are in a hardware component crisis. When I joined as CEO in February, the price we paid for console storage components was over 2 times as high as we paid last fall. Those costs have since doubled again. So since last fall to when she got the job, it doubled, and since she's got the job, it's doubled. And as we plan for the 2027 holiday season, we expect another significant increase, taking us over 5 times the prices we paid only 2 years earlier. Memory costs have followed a broadly similar trajectory. While the entire industry is facing a component crisis, we believe we have been impacted more greatly than many of our peers due to the choices we made over the last half decade. We are currently unable to make as many consoles as players want to buy, and we need a new business model and partnerships for hardware as we remain committed to Helix. So we need a new business model and partnerships. So partnerships, you look at that's just obvious. Hey, that's OEM, right?
Mhm.
Or is that partnerships with business side is about being able to have different ways of people to buy them, you know, monthly things and stuff like they did with All Access before, right? Is it like financing things? Is it like I remember a long time ago they had a deal with like cable companies when cable boxes
Mhm.
were still a thing to be able to get one as like your cable box with Xbox One because they were going to be pushing that because it had the pass through, you know. Um, what are these new business models? What are these new partnerships? You know, OEM's the easy answer there too. Hey, and they already have something like that with Asus, right? Doing the ROG Xbox Ally, which I love. And maybe they're another partner, and maybe they do other deals with other people and have more handhelds out there. They have more Helix like devices out there besides just the Microsoft Xbox Helix, right? Um, but I almost think this is something else because we need a new business model. Because she's like, a business model could also mean a way of thinking about how to make money off of a console. And that's what I don't know. Like I feel like there's some kind of like unexpected thing that we haven't seen before. Um, and I racking my brain around what it could be, and I don't know, but like I caught the reason I'm heading this direction was I think it was the Fortune interview, which was maybe the second interview in which she made that line regarding hardware because the component crisis question was asked, um, and you know that crowd kept asking her about AI stuff, and she was trying to like change the subject because like you know AI will be here to like help solve problems, not to create new AAA experiences, all that kind of stuff. But at some point, the whole component thing got brought up again, and she specifically said that's what I'm here to do is solve that problem, which is very interesting because she's been an innovator before at places she's been at when with coming up with new things that have helped those businesses kind of achieve great things, right? Anybody in the chat got a freaking idea about what a new business model would look like on console type hardware? The ad thing could be something there. Maybe they're looking back at going to Keystone again. You know, hey, buy a little box. You know, maybe it's powerful enough to play certain kinds of games, but then other games are only playable via the cloud. Maybe they have a more affordable, just less expensive thing out there in general. Um, Maybe they're looking at their own handheld potentially in the future. I don't know. You know, something more simple. But she's also made this point when it comes to games about having um games come out quicker, and you almost have to
Yeah.
like invent new things, new kinds of games. You actually use that like new kinds of games to serve the audience that is going to TikTok, it's going to all these other kind of things. And I think about that comment she made at that point, and then I look at the comment about new business models, and I keep going into my head about some kind of Xbox thing that is going to be made to play smaller experiences that they might release more frequently, made by like um not mobile games necessarily, but you look at like something like Apple Arcade or what Netflix games is doing, and they have a lot of cool stuff on there, right?
Yeah.
um where they have a device that's capable of playing a lot of this kind of stuff. Maybe you can play stuff like Switch 2 level, but is also accessible to the cloud. And maybe you can buy this thing for under $200. You know what I mean? And hey, this is going to be something that's put out there, and you don't have to deal with the whole memory stuff and all these other problems that a lot of these other like I kind of have a feeling like, and this is just pure 100% speculation, right? This is have like 100% pure speculation. I almost have a feeling that she is trying to come up with a new kind of device that is going to serve a different audience coming in, being able to attract new customers and stuff. Um, am I completely off base? here, Fuzz, or is this am I? Because I do this sometimes. I just speak off the cuff and have crazy thoughts in my head. But do you think this is some kind of possibility?
Yeah, because the closest example I can think of right now is like what you see with um, NVIDIA, their Go or their online thing. I forget what it's called right now, but basically you're paying for a video card in the cloud. Um, since you don't actually own it, you don't have to pay the high memory price. You just pay a monthly fee, and you can, stream the game, have it look like you have a 5090, and you just kind of pay the back end price, $10 a month, $20 a month, or what have you, kind of thing. I I don't know how that works on a console level, but I think that's kind of like what we see now with xCloud to some extent, or whatever they
Yeah,
call it, cloud streaming. But I do also like the idea, since they don't necessarily want to be the ones that always hold the bag for all access, financing through them or through a third party through their site. Maybe they lean on like your Comcast or your Verizon, and have it where, like someone said in the chat, where it's like a phone subscription kind of thing, but maybe you get the console. Hey, you pay 9.99 a month plus whatever you do for online, you get an Xbox Series console, maybe another, 5 or 10 bucks more, you get like the basic Game Pass for it, and you just pay that monthly fee along with your cable bill or your online access bill, and you have access to all the games that you would normally have access to on the console. It's just that you don't necessarily own it until after you reach that 2 year or 5 year contract deal with, Verizon or Comcast, which would
yeah,
probably put it at the perfect time for the next console or the mid gen upgrade or something. So I could see that being an option. I like your thoughts on not necessarily the mobile game aspect, but like exactly like you said with the
I was
Netflix,
trying to
what Netflix is doing in Apple Arcade.
explain. I the closest thing I just put in the chat. The closest thing I can think of that was like a device like this was actually the Nvidia Shield.
Right. Yeah.
But it was an Nvidia. It was they didn't have a platform really. They're like a graphics card company that they have the streaming service as well. You
Hmm.
know, but with GeForce Now, which you could use the Shield to access that also. You know, but
Yeah.
the Shield was strong enough and capable enough to play some things. You know,
Hmm.
um, so I'm looking at something like maybe like that is more of, I guess, is it like I'm not, is it ARM based? Is that what technically that would be, right? That's not like
Yeah.
a GPU and stuff in it. It's like completely different, right? Um, so you're dealing with different tech there. It's going to keep the cost down, as opposed to building like a giant like heat machine, that we all have with these consoles now. But cable play like Xbox live arcade style games, maybe,
Hmm. Yeah.
plus stream access to all the other stuff. I also do like what Mike Skill Pro in the chat said. Xbox Live Arcade. This is a potential business model thought, right? Xbox Live Arcade plus creator economy plus user generated content service. So you look at things like Roblox, right? Where there were people making games within Roblox and selling things and stuff. Like it takes me back to the whole Xbox 360 skateboard moment when they showcased that and showed like, hey, you're going to be able to make your own stuff and sell it. And we're all like, oh, that's crazy, you know? But that's a way that you can make money. Also, Matthew Ball did talk a lot in his presentation, or not talk a lot, but in his PDF slideshow thing about user generated content, you know. And we just also had the Sea of Thieves announcement where they're going to be having user generated content, much like Fortnite Creative and Roblox has. I mean, that's pretty much what Roblox is, you know. So, I mean, going down this direction, that would make a lot of sense. But you would be able to access a lot of different stuff with a smaller device like that. That would be something that might be attractive also to that younger crowd as well.
Yeah.
So Sorry to cut you off, Fuzz.
No. That's totally fine because I think like when you look at Sea of Thieves, they've now basically added their own Forge mode to it as well. You have kind of like a Forge mode in Forza Horizon, and now it's actually, you can collaborate with multiple players as far as building some of those things. So maybe that's the easier in, lesser expensive hardware that kind of leans on the cloud. Yes, I know not everybody has the greatest internet access, but that would also be something that you could either use your phone as a hotspot, or maybe it's playable on your phone or your Wi-Fi enabled tablet. I know they want to focus on the console and stuff, but it still allows a lot of the inroads that they made as far as access on any device, still a possibility. But I think for those of us that want that console experience, we'll go ahead and buy the console. Hopefully they have like a two SKU or maybe a reasonable price one, and then a balls to the wall one where maybe that's the OEM type of deal. But I do think a lot of those possibilities might come into play, like the Keystone coming back as kind of like a hybrid between uh, uh, GeForce Now and the NVIDIA Shield, kind of in one device using xCloud, being able to play maybe some of the smaller games. So something like Kiln, or something like what was the other one that they had with the lighthouse? Um, I forget the name of the one already, but Keeper, like something along those lines. Having those games play natively, even maybe something like Hades 2 plays natively, but you want to play E-Day on it, well, you're streaming through the cloud, and now those cloud-enabled controllers work with that device, so the lag that you would expect to experience feels a lot less. I mean, the hardcore is probably still going to notice some lag, but I think a majority of the fan base that they're trying to expand on are going to be the casuals that bought a PlayStation because their buddy bought a PlayStation, or because they thought, Destiny was an exclusive on the PlayStation, or something random like that. I think if they can appeal to that customer base,
Mm-hmm.
get them to get the cloud-based controller, cloud-based device like the Keystone, or maybe a all digital Series X through Verizon Fios or something like that, maybe they lure them in because you know people are willing to pay like a 5, 10, or $15 upcharge to their cable company if they're already getting internet and cable through them. If they can get a console for that amount, I mean, sure, after 5 years you're going to be paying more than you would to buy the console outright, but I think people look at the here and now, and it's like, I can afford that extra $5, or I can afford that extra $15, with it having Game Pass included or something like that. And I think maybe that's how they win the battle in the trenches for those that are still on Xbox One and PS4 that aren't ready to spend 650 on a regular PS5, or 650 on a 1 terabyte, Series X or something like that type of deal. Or God forbid, look at a PS5 Pro at 800 or 900 something dollars. Like, not many people are going to want to, especially if they've waited this long. They were expecting these consoles to go down in price. Now they're kind of like, what the heck? What
Yeah.
happened? It's like now it's almost double the price that it was when I probably could have
Mhm.
bought it at the beginning of the generation type of deal. But yeah, they're going to come up with something. I already know, and I saw Shane's comment. It's like, yeah, I know the hardcore are going to probably poo poo on it, but this might be one of those times we just stay in our lane and be like, nah, I'll get the big boy console, or I'm already on
Right.
the big boy console. Let the new people come in on this new tech, and some of us will pick up the new tech as well, and then be like, that'll be great for the living room TV, but not my game room TV, or maybe that'll be good for the bedroom TV as a backup to the main one in the living room or something. And I think that's how, moving forward, hopefully they grow, the player base, and that's pretty much what their job is right now, is grow that player base, whether it's on PC or console. Probably primarily for console, or some fashion of console, even if it's a Wi-Fi enabled or cloud enabled console. I think that's the battle that they're gonna, have to be on point on messaging. Because the biggest thing in the past that always kind of made them stumble was their messaging. It's like, well, what about, people that are on a submarine? It's like, oh, we have a console for you. It's called the 360. No, hopefully they don't do that type of, metric type thing. But, for those, they'll say, oh, it's not, what if I'm on the submarine? Well, if you have a cell phone, use your cell phone as a hotspot. Or maybe I haven't been on a Navy sub because I was Army, so a little bit different. But I would assume a Navy sub probably has Wi-Fi of some sort. I could be wrong. They should be able to use that. I don't
Yeah.
know. I would say this would be a big move for them. But they can't forget about the main bed and butter bread and butter with the console. As long as they keep that focus on the console, making a great next generation console and focusing on the console player base, making sure they don't get left behind or feel like they're left behind, I think they'll be fine.
Yeah. Man. So many. There's so much to possibly could happen, man. Luis Jose says, ask if I could expand upon what I'm talking about with the device that I like. I could envision them trying to create, because I'm trying to think about like how would I solve this problem. Like over the next couple of years, memory and short like is gonna be shortages, right? You have problems with storage. All these things are going to be going up and up still, right? Who knows when that's actually going to be over? Okay, and when it's over, you're going to have to like try and go out and obtain enough to be able to make a. They're in the business of trying to grow now, right? They have teams put together to go and try and basically just get whatever kind of memory for whatever deal they can get, like all constantly right now, because they're trying to supply demand, but they can't supply demand currently, right? Meanwhile, hey, guess what? There's a brand new high end Xbox on the horizon that's supposed to come out next year. They can't even make enough Series S's and X's. They're trying to get memory for the Helix, and well, you're not going to necessarily make a huge impact and grow the console base that much unless you can actually have devices out there for people to buy. And you can't only have like a really one high end boxes, and the cost of these aren't. I don't see us getting price decreases really. We're all calling for it. I mean, like it'd be nice Series X and S go down, but the prices of this of storage is still going up. Memory is still going up right now. So we're lucky if they don't go up again. Like she said, it's gone up 5 times over the last 2 years, and it's gone up since she's been since fall to when she took the job. What, in February, right, or March? I forget exactly when it was. It had went up twice, 2 times, right? And then since she's had the job to today, it's gone up 2 times, right? And it would 2 times, I mean double, right? It's doubled twice since the fall for them. The price that they're able to get storage memory for. Okay, so this is a very serious thing with being for consumer electronics in general. This isn't an exclusive like Xbox problem, but what she was saying is basically based on the decisions made 5 years ago that this is they're being impacted more than competition right now. Okay. So I'm trying to think what I was getting at is if they are returning to console, they're trying to have people buy boxes to put on their TVs. Helix is going to exist. Helix is going to be something, right? And I think it could be the main core device. That's going to be awesome and for all of us enthusiasts. I don't think that's going away. I think they're going to have that, and they're going to try and keep it as affordable as possible for us to be able to buy. But I still think it's going to be a high end, expensive device. Okay, maybe we get the OEMs there as well. You know, that end up kind of having different variations, different levels, and all this other kind of stuff. Um, then I look at, okay, well, what about new gamers? that are trying, you know what I mean? Like this other generation, like that are growing up and the parents are looking to buy them a console, right? That are like, oh, I want this, for Christmas kind of people, because I want to play this game, I want to play that. It's gonna be really hard to get these kids $700 consoles. You know what I mean? Like it's not like $300, $400 like it used to be. I mean, you're talking about $700. So I'm trying to think of like what device can they have that's like a hardware based device that they can sell for these TVs and still be kind of a core experience and not just focus on the cloud, which you're hamstrung there only because of internet capabilities, and you're also not locking people in necessarily into something by not having that box there that identifies the ecosystem. Um, so in my mind, I'm thinking of a less expensive device, right? A less expensive device. Now this less expensive device isn't going to be capable maybe of playing all the high end games at natively, right? Maybe it's going to be playing these AAA games at only streaming wise, you know, but maybe it's capable of playing a lot of these like digital purchase storefront indie games and darlings, or maybe like Roblox, Fortnite, things like this that operate on really low end PCs, operate on tablets, operate on mobile devices, operate across multiple spectrums. Maybe it'll play your Balatros, your Vampire Survivors, your Dead Cells, your new Castlevania game that's coming out. The Shinobi that came out last year. Yeah, like maybe it'll be capable of playing a lot of games, not necessarily the big AAA stuff. And if you have that, it's labeled as an Xbox. Maybe you can have it for under $200, right? Maybe under 250, right? Even 300. Like at that point, if it's a really good device, because how much is an Nvidia Shield these days? Like an Nvidia Shield is the closest thing that I can think of to this, right? $200 for an Nvidia Shield for the Shield TV Pro. Okay. Now the Shield TV Pro has Dolby Atmos. It has an Nvidia Tegra chip in it. 3 gigabytes of RAM, right? Um, it has like a media server on it, all this other kind of stuff, right? It is capable of playing some games natively, but it's also capable of playing games via the cloud, right? Or at least it used to. I think it is. Does it have access to GeForce now? I think it does.
I think you can. I think you can access it. I would um I haven't paid that much attention to that shield, because at the time when they first showed those, I was like, my PS3 is fine.
Right.
It's been a while since I've looked at them.
So what if you had something that's like better than like a shield, right? And
Mhm.
is like maybe AMD has like some ARM based chip for it or something, and you can buy it for between $200 and $300, or maybe because it's kind of tied to the Xbox ecosystem, you can subsidize it and sell it for even less, but you have a cheaper option out there, um, that allows that direct access to those cheaper games, but also is going to be more attainable, right? I don't know. It's just a thought, man. Like I don't know. I don't know if ARM helps the situation at all. I don't. It could just be something where like they're gonna release a streaming puck, like you said, and Shane in the chat. But I would almost like think a hybrid device would be kind of cool. Like it's capable of playing some games, but it's not necessarily playing capable of playing like all the games natively. Nintendo Switch did that. You got like a lot of people forget the Switch 1 had a lot of games. The bigger releases that came out on there were, some of them were only capable of, because they had cloud only versions of games, right? You buy the game, but it was only playable via the cloud. So this is not, it's not like something that hasn't been done before. Um, and I'm just curious if that could be an option or something like that. I'm not saying it's the best option. I don't know. I'm just trying to think of what their where their heads are at. How are they going to solve this problem to be able to sell more people devices that are going to get people in the Xbox ecosystem? And I don't think in whatever they do, I don't think it's going to be like a replacement. I don't think we're looking at replacements for Series X's, for Helixes, or any of that stuff. I think that they are trying to find ways to get a more affordable device out there, right? And Series S doesn't seem to be that, because it keeps going up too, right? What was it, like three? It's how much is Series S now?
think it's 400. It's like 399. I can't remember if that's the 1 terabyte or if that's still the 512.
399s for the 512, 449 for a 1 terabyte. I mean,
Yeah.
when this generation started, I remember a lot of us were thinking when they announced the Series S, man, it's gonna be awesome, because by like year 3 or 4, that thing's gonna be so cheap.
Yeah, it's gonna be
We were
$200
like,
or less.
could they ever hit that like magic $100 point that the PS2 did? You know, like I think they had a sale one Christmas when, like, because I think the regular price was like 149 after they came out with the Super Slim or whatever.
Mhm.
And then it was like they had some sale somewhere. It was like $100 for PS2. I'm like, gee, that was fucking crazy, man. They sold like hotcakes. You know?
Mhm.
No, they're too expensive. So anyway, I don't know if that helps, Luis, but they're looking at everything. Like really, they're just looking at everything. Um, but I do know one thing. Things are going to be different. And when we look here in September, Fuzz,
Mhm.
and we go back to this show, this was June 11th, right after Xbox Showcase, we will have some drastically different something within Xbox. You know, they are resetting the business, as she says. So I expect the biggest shit to hit the fan sooner than later. Kesper IO says, make a Switch level handheld to get to that lower price. Yeah, but the Switch 2 is not cheap. Get into a partnership with a memory manufacturer will benefit Microsoft as a whole. Exclusives paired with consoles again. Yeah, maybe. But like, will that device play? Will that play Series S and X games? Because did you all see this, the Nintendo Direct? Did you see the ports of the games going that are the AAA games? Did y'all see Onimusha running at 480p, probably on that Switch? I mean, it's capable, and that's the Switch 2. And how much is the Switch 2? Now, granted, Nintendo ain't subsidizing that shit, we don't think. How much is the Switch 2? 449 now? I mean, maybe.
I think it's going up to 500 now. So
Yeah, I don't know, man. I do not envy their position, but I do believe, like, one thing that Matthew Ball guy believed in what she said. That's why he took that job. He doesn't seem like somebody that's just a. He's not a like guy. It doesn't seem that's just gonna like. I'm gonna go in there and everything's gonna be great. He's like. I think he's got to see that things can. He can have an impact, like he said. He said he believed in what Asha wants to do. She asked him straight up. They both said this. She asked him, "Is this fixable?" Like, that's a cold. Like, that's a like. Is this fixable? Like, and he said yes, but it's not gonna be easy, you know. So they're gonna make some drastic things here, guys. So, um, Fuzzy, you got anything else to add on this reset? Do you have one prediction, just like you want to lay down there for the reset before we get into tidbits?
Ooh. Um, I think the gaming media is going to try to crap over it. Um, I wouldn't say all of the gaming media, but I do expect a TV type moment from the gaming media, even though it won't be on par with that. Whether it's cloud-based stuff or some different hardware options, they're going to try to make it seem confusing. Like, remember when the gaming media was
Yeah.
like, "What? How- People are going to be confused with the Xbox One S and the Xbox One X." It's like, well, how will Grandma get little Timmy the correct console? It's like, I think only idiots, which some of the gaming media is that, we're having that kind of confusion because I knew plenty of grandmas that bought their kids, you know, Xbox One X's and Xbox One S's, and they they know the alphabet, so they didn't have any problems. But I could see the gaming media be like, "Hey, what about the troops on a submarine? Can they play this cloud-based thing?" It's like they're on a sub; they should be focused on the mission, right? So are they playing games while they're on the sub, or will they be playing it when they're back at the barracks?
Mm-hmm.
Just saying. So, and I get the feeling that Asha and Ball and even people like Stein and Matt Booty are more on message or better to retort as far as some of the nonsense that some of the media asked, like some of the rings questions. He was like, I'm gonna have to plead the fifth," or it's like, "No comment," kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing. And they know that these are things that they can't answer at the moment because they're working on some of this stuff as we speak. But yeah, just be prepared for the gaming media with their normal FUD and don't fall for it. And I think this leadership team will be quick on their feet to counter it. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
Mm. For me, I like a lot of what you said, Fuzzy. Game media is 100% gonna shit all over all that. I mean, they already are trying to, like. There's a rumor coming out about ad based thing either in Game Pass or potentially ads in games to help with costs. And like, I already see the games media like, if this is the case, I'm just gonna go like, we're all cooked. Like, you just gotta face the realities. I'm not a huge fan of ads and games too, but also when I was playing Midnight Club LA and there was a Best Buy there, I didn't necessarily mind it. You know what I mean? I think there's ways of doing things that can be more immersive and beneficial. Like, if we're racing in Forza Horizon 6 right now, right? And we saw a Coca-Cola billboard somewhere, would we like get up and throw our controller and say that I can't play this game anymore? You know, like I feel like there's certain ways they can implement things that would be beneficial. The movies industry has been doing this for like decades, decades and
Placement.
decades. Oh gosh, yeah. I mean, it's like with the cars that are in the movies, with the
Hmm.
like the video games industry does it opposite. Like, you license the cars, you got to pay. You know what I mean? The movie
Hmm.
industry is like paying the movie companies to have their cars in the game, like, or in the movies. Hey, GM wants to have a Chevy, like, Trailblazer shown. They want Aston Martin. They compete over who gets to be the next Bond car. You know what I mean? Um,
Yeah.
like, with video games, it wouldn't necessarily be that big a deal depending on the world that it's in. Like, I don't think you go and put Coca-Cola instead of Nuka-Cola in Fallout, right? That's not going to happen. Yeah, you would get some outrage. You would get some outrage, okay? But if you have like um a game that has a poster or billboard on the wall, and it
Hmm.
is some kind of advertisement of something that feels like it's part of the world that you're in, I don't necessarily think that's a huge deal. Product placement has always kind of been a thing in entertainment
Yeah.
space, you know? So it's a way
Just
they
as long
can
as they
make some
make it
money.
destructible, that would be the key thing. If you do the billboard, make it so I can run through it and break it into pieces.
Yeah.
But then one side note I want to make. I don't remember anybody complaining about Death Stranding with Monster. Do you remember anybody complaining about the
No.
Monster can in Death Stranding?
Mm-mm.
In fact, the gaming media cheered that. They're like, "Oh, that was so cool! It looked so
Yeah.
real. I wanted to
Or
drink a
in
Monster after playing
Intergalactic
that."
with Adidas, right?
Yeah.
We're already
So there's
getting this stuff,
examples.
guys. You know, we're already getting this stuff.
Yeah.
It's already happening. Like, this is something that people cry about and they whine about on social media, but they don't really understand the ways that it already exists and the ways that we don't even notice because it just fits, you know, or we think it's cool, right? Um, been like that for forever with entertainment. So anyway,
Yeah.
all right, Fuzz, let's get into some tidbits here. Also, while you're setting that up, I think there's gonna be 2 studio closures. I'm not trying to like doom and gloom here. I think there's gonna be 2 studio closures. I think there's going to be internal projects that are going to be canceled that we don't know about, and I think they're going to re-emphasize and reinforce titles that are more tentpole franchises. That's my roundabout prediction of the reset right now. We'll see though. I don't know what's going to happen, guys. But you're right. Games media is going to shit all over it. All right, let's get into tidbits, everybody.
And we're ready. All right. We only have like 12 of them this
Right
go
on.
round. Although I will say in advance, most of this is on Game Pass, so there's that. So Xbox is still killing it.
Yeah. I don't think you do it in every game. I think you just do it where it makes sense, you know?
Yeah. Right.
For everyone.
This first one is Bistro.
Things are peaceful here in Palopori. But beyond the wall,
That's in
something has
PC
begun
this
to
Thursday or
stir.
today for $14.99. Although I think you can get it for much cheaper on PC for Steam fans out there. But if you're already a subscriber of Game Pass, day one, definitely worthwhile pick up if you're into like cooking games and cozy games in general.
Doesn't NBA 2K have ads already? Oh yeah, it's all over the sports
Yeah.
games already, Luis Jose.
In order to save the world, you've got to start with a really good meal.
I just don't understand why like somebody like Paul Tassi would say, "Oh, if this happens, we're cooked." But it's like all over the fucking like. It already exists, Paul.
Yeah. I think as long as they don't do it like the phone games or mobile games, I should say.
Oh yeah,
I think we're fine.
Recipes might just be our only hope. Because let's face it,
I think that's what they're
you
thinking.
can save the world on an empty stomach. The delicious meals you make will fuel the caretakers.
I'm gonna be making a post on social media about the Intergalactic and Death Stranding. Probably gonna get a lot of hate for it, but you know, I think I'm in my new evil arc.
Bistro.
Like, oh, so when PlayStation does it, it's fine.
Yeah.
But Xbox, oh my God. God
Yeah,
forbid.
game industry's got to flip instead of like paying for licenses of stuff. They got to be using it as marketing, you know, like dollars incoming, you know, like.
All right, this is Frog Squad coming to Series X and S and PC today. $4.95 on Steam. I think it's like $9.95 on Xbox, but it's included on Game Pass. And 8.
Interesting.
kind of like Hungry Hungry Hippos, but with frogs.
Yeah, Psycho, I don't think it'll be like mobile gaming. If that's the case, that would suck. Like, oh, you're out of tries. Pay, either pay or watch this ad for more attempts. Yeah, that's imagine playing Tony Hawk and like you like skateboard and each time you fall like counts as a try.
Be a shame if you happen to break your leg. Hey, watch this ad for 30 seconds so you have legs made of steel.
Even on mobile games, though, they only get away with that on the free games, you know.
Yeah. These free-to-play, that might be the death of the free-to-play game. Yes. All right, this next one is Lost Castle 2, coming to PC today for $12.59. This is one of those games where the Helix would come in handy. You wouldn't have to worry or wait for a console port.
Mm-hmm. Looks good.
Yeah. See, I like these types of games on handhelds.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm looking at this like this would be fun on my ROG. It does remind me of Castle Crashers.
Yeah. Right, this next one is Monopoly Star Wars Heroes versus Villains, coming to PS5, Series X and S, Nintendo Switch and Switch 2, as well as PC today for $29.99.
Oh yeah, Zero Company looks so good, man.
Yeah.
The Emperor scores a victory for the villain.
That comes out later this year, right?
I think so, yeah.
What a fitting upgrade.
I think so. Chad, do you remember
This
when
might be the
Zero
biggest year for
Company
Star Wars. Between Pod Racer, this, and
Yeah.
Zero Company.
This could be how we win.
Maybe that was February. No, August. Yeah, August.
Die is cast.
August 27th. For Zero Company.
Star Wars. Heroes versus villains. Pre-order now.
All right, this next one is Starseeker Astroneer Expeditions. So if you've played Astroneer on console, I guess this is kind of like an updated version that's geared to be more co-op-y.
Yeah.
Oh, and the price on this is $29.99, but it's day one in Game Pass. I guess that Game Pass is killing it.
So thanks for sharing this, Brett. To the Shinobi post about Xbox is floating the idea of in-game ads. Matthew Ball said this is not correct. In the interview, I was asked about a comment I made before being hired at Xbox, then state that I was only 10 days into the role and that I am not stating the company's plans or beliefs. What I do say is that ads should be used to offer more affordable alternatives alongside today's ad-free experiences, in the hopes more could play as a result, similar to how Netflix and Disney Plus have ad tiers with all the same content but at half the price or so. At no point do I even mention in-game ads. I personally believe interrupting the gameplay experience would be bad.
I love how they're on point when it comes to messaging. It's like, that FUD you all are spreading, shut up.
Yeah.
Just shut up.
And even if you had in-game ads, it wouldn't be like fucking mobile shit people thinking of. You're talking about product placement stuff. Like I still don't think that's a huge thing there either. Like,
oh, this is Tales of Caillou, I hope I'm saying that right, coming to PC this Thursday for $17.49.
It's interesting. He wouldn't comment on why Senyo is not exclusive.
Yeah,
Probably some kind of contract that he can't comment on.
I would say if I was a guessing or betting man on that one, I think part of their strategy when it comes to exclusives winds up being not going to pull the cord on stuff that's been everywhere before, or it might be something that they allow their studios to make the call. It's like, hey, I know you have a fan base over here. How do you guys feel? Well, we want that fan base to still get to play Senua. Okay. We'll go ahead and make sure it's everywhere then. But I have a gut feeling every year we'll see at least one or two, platform or console exclusives. And at some point, probably over the next 5 years, there will be a handful of games that are not console exclusive, which COD will probably be one of them. But I could see a lot of other ones, eventually becoming that. So we'll see. It's not something that they can make all of them exclusive and not have the gaming media down their throats about stuff. So they're going to take a targeted approach.
Yeah.
All right, this next one is To a T coming to Switch 2 this Thursday for $14.99.
Oh, is this that T-Pose game? Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to try my face. I want to use the restroom by myself. The little things, yeah, the little things are hard for me.
Did that Baby Steps game ever come out?
Yeah, and it didn't do as well as I thought it would. I thought that was going to be like a streamer's dream of just random stuff, and it had I think it was streamed for maybe a week, if that, or more like 2 days, and then people kind of forgot about it because I can't remember if that came out around Concord or not, but it was something overshadowed it, and Concord didn't last either. So
I don't even know. I don't remember. I remember they let off a whole show with that thing.
Mm-hmm.
This song is horrible.
That game will do well on Nintendo.
Yeah. It's in Game Pass also, I guess.
All right. This one is Unreal 2 back on track, coming to PS5, Switch 1 and 2, as well as PC this Thursday for $14.99.
What a week for games so far. This is what you get week after showcase season, I guess.
So business is going to pick up between now and November. Everybody's going to release their stuff before GTA 6.
Yeah.
Where's this freaking third trailer? I guess that'd be the third trailer where they explain stuff in that narrative voice. See these main characters, acquire a new house where they plan their next heist.
I mean, this one could be kind of fun. That reminds you of the Christmas Story movie where the kid couldn't put his arms down, Sea-Lord. The T-Pose game. Yeah. He'll shoot your eye out.
I can't move my arms. All right, I think this next one here is Mole, coming to PC Monday for $12.99.
This game just screams claustrophobia to me. I will not play this. And I don't like things chasing me in tight spaces either, so that's nope.
No bueno.
Nope, not gonna happen. Ain't gonna do it. Wouldn't be prudent.
Right, so now we've moved into the mobile gaming area. This is Barbie, Horse Ride and Rescue, coming to iPhone and Android this Tuesday, and it's free to play with in-app purchases.
Oh, this is Pony Tamer Online, Fuzzy.
Mm-hmm. You nailed it on the prediction.
Yeah.
All right, this next one is And Roger, coming to Nintendo Switch 2 as well as iPhone and Android this Wednesday for $3.49 on, I think that was on the Switch, and then it's free to play on iPhone and Android with in-app purchases.
At least these are short trailers.
Yeah. And this last one is Pokemon Champions, coming to iPhone and Android Wednesday, and it's free to play.
Oh, this is the grand finale? Fuck me. Wouldn't be prudent. Well,
And that's it.
I think it's
So,
pretty good strategy for them not to release a lot of big games that week after showcase.
Yeah. Not a bad deal. Like I guess this allows people to catch up on their backlog.
Yeah.
Some fun games mixed in there, but yeah, for the most part, catch up on your backlog, especially if you've been watching these showcases. This is the time to make up for that time. But man, what a week. Xbox Showcase was amazing. Game Fest, Summer Game Fest was pretty cool. I know that there was a lot of good games over at Play Days. Didn't do that because I'm not pressed, so
Yeah.
maybe next year. But
Well, if
saw
you
some
had a
pretty cool
press
games.
badge, you wouldn't have gotten the Series X, Fuzz.
That is true. So I've already started debating on if I'm gonna go next year. Well, first of all, I don't think she'll do that again. Like,
Yeah.
it would be awesome to get a Helix next year, but yeah, I think this was like a one-time thing
Mhm.
because of the
25th
anniversary.
anniversary.
Maybe they do it for the 30th or something, but yeah. But man, it was amazing meeting everybody out there. Mav, we're gonna have to drag you out there one of these years, man.
Yeah.
You gotta go.
Kidnap me. I was about to call you, hey, can you swing by Texas here and just like pick me up, Fuzz,
Like, get in the car, it's running, let's go.
No, yeah, one of these days, man. One of these days. I mean, a lot of people have been asking me, to get out there and stuff, but it's just hard to do with, my job and stuff. So
Yeah.
one day we'll make it happen. But guys, it's been real. Thank you all for tuning in to the show. We're on the cusp of the reset. We'll see what happens. Fuzzy, tell everybody where they can find you.
As always, love doing this podcast on Thursday evenings with you. Always love talking about the gaming industry. And for those that want to hear my rambles and rants on it, just do a search for Fuzzy Belvedere on social media. You should be able to find me. But this reset, anxiously looking forward to it. I know there's going to be some hard stuff to it, but I think in the end, Xbox will be better for it. And I think
Yeah.
we'll be happier in the long run. We'll have the games, we'll have the hardware, we'll have a team willing to fight for Xbox. So yeah,
Yeah.
looking forward to it.
definitely a more competitive spirit with these people now in charge.
Yeah.
You know, so that's very interesting to see. Well, chat, you guys rock. Have a good one. Take it easy. Bye.